A very happy evening to one and all present here. I am C.A. Nischal, CICASA Chairman for Bangalore Branch SIRC. Now here to do a small MC and introduction for the event. So first I would like to request our Secretary Tuppat sir to escort our speaker onto the dais. Nikita Maheshwari ma'am. This I always keep telling in my times if I get a chance. Once we become chartered accountants, we lose the sense of humor, and we not take everything in a happy manner or different comedy manner. So seeing the number of people here, I call it as Jana Sagara. So don't worry, we have a lot of registrations coming. They will come little late to the event, but let's not delay much to start the event meanwhile. So let's kickstart the event. Now the topic for the day on study circle meet is do's and don'ts in GST investigation. Now I take the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker of the day, CA Nikita Maheshwari ma'am. She is an associate director at TMSL, a chartered accountant. She is a chartered accountant with over 12 years experience in specialization in India tax, including GST, customs and erstwhile service tax and excise laws as well. She has played a key role in leading, executing critical assignments during the Indian transition to GST with strong focus on advisory, implementation and compliance. Her professional journey includes working with renowned organizations such as JW Marriott and PwC, where she honed her expertise in indirect taxes across diverse sectors, notably FMCG, pharmaceuticals and food and beverage industries. Nikita is also a recognized thought leader in the field, known for her contribution in technical content creations, policy research and tax technology in transformations. She is a finalist in Indirect Tax Rising Star 2024 and 2025, International Tax Review UK, author of a best-selling book on GST audits and assessments, research paper, she has done research paper on GST implementations on pharmaceuticals and FMCG sector, published numerous articles and blogs on GST and indirect taxes, trusted GST advisor on several unicorns and high-growth companies in India. So with this, I would give the charge and the time, not wasting any further time to the speaker, over to Nikita now.
Thank you so much, sir, for a wonderful introduction, and it's an honor to be here as a speaker. Thank you so much ICI Bangalore and the team for having me. So, while I completely agree with you that we've kind of lost our humor, yes, I will try to bring it back through my presentation as well. So, good evening everyone. The topic for today is the do's and don'ts of GST investigation. But before the do's and don'ts, I think all of us need to understand what exactly is GST investigation, how is it carried out, what are the courts talking about, and since it's been already 8 years under GST, there are lots and lots of judicial proceedings on this. So I'm going to cover the legal provisions, plenty of case studies. So there are a lot of quizzes coming. I just hope that I have an interactive audience today. So please feel free to raise a hand, answer a question, or maybe raise a question. So this is today's coverage. We are going to cover section 67 to section 72 of the GST law, which essentially includes inspection, search, seizure, arrests, summons, and also demands and recovery. Now, we'll start with GST investigation. GST investigation basically can be conducted by DGGI, by anti-evasion branch, and by the investigation wing as well. There are primarily three stages of GST investigation. One is pre-investigation, one is during investigation, and one is post-investigation. So we are going to cover all three, and I hope by the end of this session you will have a fair idea of how to assist your clients during an investigation. So like I said, I'm going to start my presentation with a bit of humor. Why are we discussing this topic? What is the gravity of situation? I just wanted to take you through some numbers. And this is a free advice. So there are, in the last 5 years, 7.08 lakh of crore rupees have been detected as tax evaded till March 25. Okay, so this is from March 20 to March 25, 7.08 lakh crore. Can somebody quickly tell me how many zeros are there in lakh crores? 1 lakh crore, how many zeros are there? Come on, we're all chartered accountants.
1.
That's right. So that is the gravity of situation. 91,000 cases have been picked up by the GST investigation wing in the last 5 years. Out of these 7.08 lakh crores, 1.7 lakh crores were related to ITC related frauds. Only in 24-25, the last financial year which we closed, 2.23 lakh crore was the tax evaded amount that was detected, and out of 30,000 cases last year, more than half of them they pertain to ITC frauds. So can you see the proportion? 7 lakhs, 2.23 crores, right? So broadly 30% cases were detected only last year in the last 5 years. If I have to go year by year, in 2021 it was 49.3 thousand crore. In 21-22, 73.3 thousand crore. 22-23, 2.3 lakh crore. So the number has been consistently increasing. This is the amount of tax evasion that we are talking about. Okay. So from 2.3 it became 2.23, and we all know that with these numbers it is quite apparent that the GST investigation officers are quite busy these days, right? Finding out assessees and holding on collars. And what is the source of this data? So the Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Pankaj Chaudhary, shared this data 2 days back in the Lok Sabha. So this is quite a fresh data. It's not old, quite updated in that sense. And if I have to also tell you about April to June quarter of this year, we saw a 29% jump from the last April to June. So April-June quarter last year to April-June quarter this year, we saw a 29% increase in the number of cases that were detected for tax evasion. So I think we are all kind of now ready for the slides that are to come, because this has become quite a rampant exercise by the GST department. Some more numbers I just want to share with you. On an average, about 1200 fake firms are getting detected every month by GST, Pan India. So broadly 40 firms every day, 40 companies every day, the GST department is finding out that these companies are fake. Anybody remembers that there was a registration drive against, fake registration drive last year? Did anybody hear about it in the GST regime? No, nobody heard about it. It was done twice, once in 2023 and once in 2024. In 2023, 21,800 entities were found out as non-existent. They had registration but they were non-existent. And in 2024, 24,000 entities were found out as not having any presence. So while we feel that, why do they do investigation, what is the need, most of the taxpayers are honest, and why are they really bothering everybody with all these things, all of this data shows that there are non-compliant taxpayers as well, and they are taking advantage of the system. Of course, I don't deny that because of them, the honest taxpayers are also, put to test. So starting with section 67, the first topic that we're going to cover is GST inspection. Now what is GST inspection? Inspection is like the word suggests, normal, I just want to come, verify, review, all of that. And when does it happen? When the officer who's authorizing inspection has reasons to believe one of those four things, that the business person who's engaged in business of transportation of goods or an owner of a godown or a warehouse has any goods or is keeping any goods which have not been subject to tax, or his accounts or accounts show that they have kind of likely to escape payment. So there is evasion of payment. The officer should have a reason to believe. Okay, now this reason to believe we will discuss in detail, that what does reason to really believe is, because it's quite a subjective term. Second is that if any person has suppressed any transaction related to supply of goods or any stock in hand, so you have not shown any stock in your books but it is kept at your godown or warehouse, that will get covered under this category. Any person has claimed excess ITC or utilized excess ITC, and any taxable person has indulged in contravention of any of the provisions of this Act. Now this is quite wide. There are so many sections in the GST law. If you have contravened even one of the sections, they can come and do their inspection. So effectively anybody can be subjected to inspection under GST if the officer has reason to believe so. Now who can order investigation? Anybody, any officer who is in the rank of Joint Commissioner or above. This is a very important thing, that who is the right officer to order inspection. Joint Commissioner and above can order inspection, and the form wherein they can order inspection is INS 01. What all can be investigated? Can they come to your house? Can they come to your residence? Can they come to all your offices? Well, they can do an inspection on any place of business of a taxable person. And the person who's engaged in business of transportation of goods or owner of the operator of warehouse. And can the JC authorize anybody to do this inspection? Yes, he can. He can authorize any officer of the central tax to do this inspection for him. Now, we discussed that inspection can be carried out at any place of business. What does place of business mean? Would anybody like to answer? What does place of business mean under GST? Can anybody help me with one of the places of business?
Godown, warehouse.
That's right.
Some accounts are maintained.
Correct. Goods where accounts are maintained, godown, warehouse. Anybody else? Alright. So place from where the business is carried out, right? You have an office, you have a factory, you have a godown, you have a warehouse. Wherever you are carrying out your business from, that place of business will be covered. Second is any warehouse or godown, like sir said, where you have stored your goods. Any place where your accounts are maintained, correct? That will also get included in this. And any place where you are conducting business through an agent. Okay, so this is an important one. Even at your agent's premises or agent's godown or agent's warehouse, inspection can be carried out. So this is what gets covered in the definition of place of business under section 285 of the CGST Act. Now we move on to search and seizure now. This was inspection. Now who can authorize search and seizure? Same. Joint Commissioner and up in form INS 01. When can search and seizure be authorized? So inspection, we saw that the GC and up should have a reason to believe. Now search and seizure can be authorized if an officer, proper officer, pursuant to an inspection. So they did an inspection in 67(1) and then they found out that okay, this guy is probably hiding something or there is something which is seeming fishy. So then they can, pursuant to an inspection or otherwise, they can they have reasons to believe that you have some goods which are liable to confiscation, which have escaped tax, or any documents or books which they feel that can give them evidence against you, which and they are secreted in any place. So if all these conditions are satisfied, a JC and up can order a search and seizure. Okay. Now pursuant to an inspection or otherwise means that Search can be ordered post an inspection is completed, or without an inspection also directly a search can be ordered. One more important part here is that secreted in any place, the last sentence if you see. So we come to this, that why is this important. And who can do a search and seizure? Any officer of central tax who's been authorized by a proper officer. Similar to inspection, they can conduct search and seizure. And what can be seized? So this is also important. Your goods can be seized, whatever taxable goods you are dealing in. Your documents can be seized, your books of accounts can be seized. Any things that you have, your laptops, your hard disk, your pen drives, those can be seized. And order of seizure has to be prepared in INS 02. Okay. Now documents has been defined under section 241 of the Act, which says that written and printed records of any sort and electronic records also. So if you are maintaining physical records, the traditional style, or if you are maintaining records on computers, Tally, SAP, Oracle, whatever, it can be seized under this section. Now what happens when it is not practical to seize goods? Well, some taxpayers are in the business of, let's say one of my clients is engaged in the business of large scaffoldings or ladders or some machinery. Now these goods cannot be seized. You cannot take them to your own office, the GST office, right? It's not practical to seize them and take them with you. What happens? So then in that case, officer serves the owner or the custodian, whoever that is, an order in form INS 03 that he will not remove those goods from there where the search was conducted, or he will not part with those goods, or he will not sell those goods, he will do nothing with those goods, meaning that he is not then allowed to use those goods, move them, remove them, sell them, whatever it is. Okay, and if he has to do anything, he has to take previous permission of the officer. Can the seized goods be released on a provisional basis? Now suppose somebody came, some officers came, they searched the premises, they seized some goods. But for some business reason, I need to use those goods, right? Because I was not prepared for the search. I did not know that this is going to happen. So what is the solution to it? I can request the officer that can you please release these goods on a provisional basis. Now whenever a provisional release is done, you basically have to execute a bond. And this is going to be a hefty price to pay because the bond has to be the value, same as value of goods. Okay. If you execute a bond which is equal to the value of goods in form INS 04, and you also furnish a security which is equal to tax, interest and penalty, which you have which the officer is alleging that you have escaped, that amount. So there is a bond and there is a security both. You do that in INS 04 and then they can release your goods provisionally. In case you kind of go ahead and sell those goods or do something, at least they have some security. They are going to invoke the bond and they are going to realize whatever is due to the treasury. What is the time limit? So they can't just seize your goods, sit with it for 2-3 years, do some other audits, do some time pass. No, that's not going to happen. The government has told them that a demand notice should be served within 6 months of seizure of goods. Otherwise, if a demand notice is not issued within 6 months, we can go and ask that please return my goods because the period of 6 months has now lapsed. And this can also be further extended by another 6 months if there is a sufficient cause the officer can show to his joint commissioner. So maximum 1 year, within 1 year a demand notice should come. If it is not coming, we can demand our goods back. What are the rights of taxpayers in case of search and seizure? So if somebody is coming and seizing my goods or my documents or my books of accounts, what can I do? I can make copies of my books of accounts. I can take extract from such books of accounts or any other contracts, agreements, whatever it is. This has to be done in the presence of an authorized officer and we have to seek permission from the officer before doing so. If the officer feels that if this person takes this extract or takes this photocopy, this is going to impact my search negatively, he may deny this request. In which case, of course, the doors of High Court are always open. What is the time period when the books or documents should be returned, or till what time can they be retained? So once the search is completed and you have not, and the officer has not relied on those documents or those books of accounts, then he has to release these documents or books of accounts within 30 days of the notice. So if he's issued the notice, he knows that I have not relied, it is not one of the RUDs, then he has to return those documents and the books to the taxpayer within 30 days of issuance of notice. Now, sometimes it also happens that some goods are perishable in nature, okay? Some goods are depreciating in nature. Then what do you do? I mean, you can't keep them for 1 year, right? If let's say I'm in the business of cashews and the officer comes and seizes cashews from me, the cashews are going to go bad after 1 year. He can't seize and keep it. So what happens then? So in these 4 cases, either the goods are perishable, they are hazardous, they are depreciating goods, or there is shortage of space at the GST office because the goods are big, like huge. Then what happens? Then the officer can actually sell these goods. Now there is a notification 27/18 which has a list of all these goods. So for example, if you read the list, I'll just take a few examples. Salt, raw hides and skins, newspapers and periodicals. If I'm a magazine dealer and if you seize in magazines, after 1 year they're of no use, right? Fuel, because it will evaporate. Cells, batteries, they will leak. Petroleum products, drugs. Drugs are hazardous in nature. You can't store them. Pharmaceutical products, because they will get expired after a year. Any goods which are rapidly depreciating. Any technology, any phone, any laptops. After 1 year, their value is going to be almost zero. So these goods they can't keep. So they are going to, what are they going to do with it? They are going to dispose these goods. And how are they going to dispose? There is a process for it. The officer shall prepare an inventory. So once the seizure is done, he is going to prepare a list of these goods. He is going to prepare an inventory. And this inventory will be signed by the taxpayer, just to confirm that, okay, if I seized, let's say 10 kgs of cashews, he signed that these are actually 10 kgs. So the taxpayer is going to sign those inventories. The taxpayer can get these goods released also if he pays one of these, the lower of market price of these goods. So you have to buy your own goods from the officer effectively, okay? Or if he pays the tax, interest and penalty, whatever is lower, the taxpayer can pay and get his goods released. If the taxpayer doesn't want to pay or fails to pay, then the proper officer will dispose these goods and whatever amount is realized will be settled against the dues of the government. Now, PO as a proper officer has a reason to believe that the taxpayer has evaded or intends to evade tax. Then what is he required to do? Because we read that there has to be reasons to believe, right? So he has to record those reasons in writing. They can't be in his brain, in his heart. You can't memorize the reasons. You have to note it in writing. He may seize accounts, register documents, and whatever he seizes from a taxpayer, there is a receipt that is prepared for it. That I have seized these 10 items, and the receipt will be given to the taxpayer so that he can claim it back later on. And for how long the accounts will have to be retained? For so long. So as in retained as in till how long can they retain? They can retain it for as much as time till that what time the proceedings are going to go on. So there is a limit of 1 year for the books and accounts, but for other things there is only so much as may be necessary. That's what the law says. Now there is one provision very interesting, 6712, which says that a commissioner or an authorized officer can go to any business premises. They can go in civil clothes and behave like a normal purchaser. They can go buy goods from that specific dealer, and they are going to observe whether you are issuing any tax invoice or bill of supply. Is the tax invoice compliant with the GST law or not? and maybe a day or two later they are going to return these goods, and they will see whether the business premises, are they refunding the amount of tax? So they will refund the principal value, but are they also refunding the tax amounts? And are they cancelling the document, the invoice what they generated, or they issuing a credit note? Are they doing all of this? So this is a common practice which generally officers do before they start the activity of search and seizure. If they are eyeing any specific business and they have reasons to believe that this specific business is looking fishy, is probably not compliant with the law, this is one activity that they can do to see whether invoices are issued for all supplies or not. And if the supply is returned, whether the tax is also refunded to the government or not. Now, what is the difference between inspection and search? Because by the name of it, kind of appears similar only. Inspection is also reviewing, verifying. Search is also something similar, looks to be similar. But the differences are that inspection is covered under section 67(1), subsection 1, and search is covered under subsection 2. The objective of inspection is only verification of your records, verification of your transactions, verification whether the stock that you maintain tallies with your books of accounts, whether you are raising proper invoices or not. But the objective of search is to unearth any goods which are liable for confiscation. So we read that secreted in any place. Remember when we were reading about search? That is where this interpretation comes from. That any secreted things, goods, records, anything, the objective of search is to unearth them. Where can it be done? Inspection can only be done at place of business. We saw the 4 places of business. But search can be conducted at any place, at any associated place, including the residence of the taxpayers. Even if any place is not registered under GST, but if the officer believes that this person is associated with that place as well, he is going to go and do a search there as well. Under inspection, the officers do not have the power to seal, break or open. So I think the words are self-explanatory. You cannot break anything, you cannot open anything, you cannot barge into the doors. But in search, all these things can be done, they are permitted. Seizure of goods cannot be done under inspection, but in search they can be seized if they are liable for confiscation. So the scope of search is quite wide, and there was one case law in the case of Rajiv Traders. It was held that the words secreted in any place, they indicate that search is not restricted to only the place of business. It can be done at any associated place. Whether it is disclosed in your registration or not disclosed in your registration, whether it is a business place or whether it is a residential place. Now, the CBIC had issued a couple of instructions, and I am just going to take you through the highlights of those instructions in case of GST investigation. This was issued back in 2021. They said that the officer who is authorizing search, can somebody tell me who authorizes search? That's right. Oh, I have an attentive audience, I'm just happy. So the JC has authorized search. So the person who is authorizing search means JC and up has valid and justifiable reasons, number 1, and they should be recorded on the file. Both should be simultaneously fulfilled. Second is that it should only be done with the authorization of a competent authority, means JC and up should have authorized the search. DIN should be quoted on each search authorization. Now, premises of a person, let's say Mr. X, cannot be searched basis the authorization of premises of Mr. Y. So let's say the officer went, they searched Mr. Y's premises, they found some documents which links him to Mr. X. So on the same search warrant, they cannot go to Mr. X. They will need a fresh search warrant for Mr. X. Now, search authorization issued on a deceased person. So they issued a search warrant and they later came to realize, oh, this person has passed away. Then a fresh search warrant will be needed if they are searching the heir's premises as well, the legal heir. In case of residence, a lady officer has to be there to search the residences. If it is a sensitive premises, then it is recommended that videography should be done. Search is always done in presence of two independent witnesses. So they've kind of given an example that it could be PSU employees, it could be bank employees, they are preferred. Officers, when they come for search, they will always show you their ID cards, whoever the person in charge of the premises is, and they will offer that you please do a personal search on us. Why do you think that is needed? Why will officers offer themselves to be searched? Yes, ma'am?
They are not bringing in evidence in their side.
That's right. You want to say something?
They are not they are not fraud or anything. Just to
Yeah, so they're not carrying any cash, they're not carrying any extra documents to plant it. So that is why they offer themselves for a personal search. Search authorization has to be executed before the start of the search. So you can't go for inspection, start the search, and at the back end get the search warrant prepared. That's not how it works. You have to go back, get a search warrant, and then start the search. Whoever the person in charge of that premise is, the owner, the warehouse keeper, or whoever it is, manager, that person has to sign with a date and a time stamp, and the independent witnesses also have to sign on the search authorization. A panchnama is prepared at the end of search. Panchnama is nothing but the list of goods that they have searched, seized, and taking them with them. This instruction was issued in 2022-2023, which says that voluntary payments made during search. So, you know what the courts observed over the years was that the GST officers go, they search the premises of any taxpayer, and some payment is made during such search. The taxpayer later on goes to the High Court to say that this was done under duress. They coerced me, they forced me to make this payment, so I want a refund. So there were multiple cases that happened. One of the famous one is the Swiggy case, the Bundle Technologies case, wherein the High Court ordered the refund of money. So because this was becoming very frequent, CBIC issued this instruction which said that if there is a voluntary payment which is to be made during the search, then you have to ask the taxpayer that you please make it after the officers leave, or you make it the next day. Don't make it when we are there, when the officers are there, because then it appears as if we have forced you to make that payment. So what this instruction said that there is a difference between section 79, which is the recovery section, and section 73(5). So you cannot make any recovery during a search. Okay. If the person wants to pay voluntarily, please ask him that make the payment next day or after we leave. This was another instruction which came in 23-24. So multiple times, these instructions have come because it was very commonly seen that there were multiple allegations on the revenue authorities that coercion is being practiced, force is being practiced, threats are being practiced. So just to avoid all of that, CBIC has issued multiple instructions. I would like to ask your experiences. Are these instructions really followed? Have you been to a GST search? Have you kind of assisted any clients in GST search? Are these instructions being followed on the ground? Is there any coercion do you see during GST search? Anybody would like to share small experience?
In case of inspection,
Yeah.
they come without permission of DC,
Yeah,
and they don't listen to us.
yeah,
Even if we tell them the law,
Yeah.
then they don't listen to us. They will do whatever they want.
correct. Correct. That's absolutely right. So while these instructions are in place and they are, they are mandatorily to be followed by the officers, they are not following. On ground, it's not being followed to a large extent. So this specific instruction was again for the ease of doing business for the taxpayers. It said that any intelligence search or any investigation, whatever is being conducted, it kind of put an accountability on the principal commissioner of that jurisdiction. That if any search is being conducted, this person is accountable, because the officers, whatever the officers are doing, CBIC can't go after individual officers. So they have kind of made principal commissioner responsible. Any interjurisdictional intelligence. So let's say I am doing a search. During the search I found out that Mr. X from some other jurisdiction is also involved in this fake invoice thing. So I am going to pass on that information to the other jurisdictional commissioner or to DGGI, whoever. Then zonal principal chief commissioner's written approval is specifically required in 4 cases. If they have to conduct an investigation, number one, if you are trying to recover tax from a business which has never paid tax. So let's say hospitals, healthcare, exempt, right? If you want to go and do a search or an investigation of a hospital, you need the permission of zonal principal chief commissioner. Number 2, large industrial houses, MNCs, because generally they are listed companies. Their share prices will go up, go down. There will be media. All of that will get involved, and hence a specific permission is required. Any sensitive matters or any national implications, right? If there is, let's say, there is a company who is making arms and ammunition for the DRDO or the army. Now, this is of national implication. Such matters should go to zonal principal chief commissioner. And matters which are already before GST council, something that GST council is already deciding on, deliberating on, then you should first take approval from principal chief commissioner of the zone, and then only an investigation should be carried out. Before investigation, one more thing which has been mentioned is that the officers should do their homework. They should know what are the prevalent trade practices, what are the transactions, what is the impact in case they want to make the taxpayer pay tax on the industry as a whole. Now, if let's say, let's probably take a company which is ABC Limited. It's a huge MNC, it has presence everywhere in India, 29, 30 registrations. Now, if an inquiry is already going somewhere else, you have to align your inquiry with that jurisdictional officer. Only then you can start your own inquiry. So you should know that there is another investigation being, let's say, conducted in Delhi. Then I can't start something in Bangalore immediately, right? There has to be proper homework done. More than one agency or office, whenever they're investigating the same taxpayer, then efforts should be made that the inquiry investigation is consolidated so as to not put the taxpayer through undue hardship. Now, again, if the issue spans multiple GSTs or through several jurisdictions, concerned zones or DGGI should be informed within timeline. So this is this is the same instruction. That if you are conducting an investigation and if you feel that the industry trade practice will change or the interpretation will change, then you should refer it to the board, the CDIC. They are going to take care of it before you close the investigation. Initially, you cannot issue summons. So we will cover summons separately, but summons you cannot issue just before investigation. You can't start any search or any investigation with a summon. First, an inquiry letter should be issued. If you have any reason to believe that there is something wrong going on, then a summons should be issued. And you have to detail your reasons, any legal provisions, and in your file. Inquiry letters and summons must clearly mention subject, nature of investigation. It cannot be that, okay, we are issuing this inquiry to check the ITC. What ITC? Why do you want to check the ITC? You have to say that they wrongfully utilize the ITC or they have availed ITC of items which fall under 17.5. Something like that. It should be specific. It cannot be vague. They cannot seek information which is already available on the portal. So by way of an inquiry letter, you cannot say that, okay, submit GSTR 1, GSTR 3B, 9, 9C, your credit ledger. No, it is all available on the portal to you. You can please have a look there. Why do you want the taxpayer to do it for you? If you require any approval, prior, then all the material and reasons should be properly recorded before you summon any kind of documents from the taxpayer. Now, procedural aspects are there, some of it. You have to complete investigation within 1 year from the date it starts. Show cause notice or closure report has to be issued without any delay. Do you see that investigations are being completed in 1 year? Anybody on the ground, are they being completed within 1 year? I see some nods like this, some like this. well, I have not seen, especially closure letter is not really given out very quickly. You have to follow up, you have to chase them, and only then you receive a closure letter. Scanned statements, search outcomes, panchnama, etc. should all be there in e-file, and that should be submitted to Additional Joint Commissioner within 4 working days of closure of investigation. And there should be a grievance redressal system in place. So this CBIC has directed the officers that there should be a grievance redressal system. Now, whenever a search or an investigation happens, there is a very common consequence, which is provisional attachment. Right? They will attach your properties, they will attach your bank accounts. So I'm just going to briefly touch, although this is not part of section 67 to 72. This is section 83, what we are talking about. So provisional attachment, what does it mean? It means that the taxpayer is stopped from accessing his own property. They are going to attach it to the demand that they feel that might come up. So it could be your bank account, it could be your land, building, any assets that you have. They are going to give you an order of attachment that this property is now attached. You cannot access this property. On the other hand, we spoke about confiscation, right? So confiscation is actually taking away the property. So attachment and confiscation have to be looked at separately, looked at differently. Confiscation is when somebody takes your assets with them, but provisional attachment is, it is there, it is with you, but you cannot access it. Your bank account is there with you, but you cannot withdraw money or you cannot do anything with that bank account. Now, provisional attachment of the property, it can be executed by the commissioner based on his opinion to protect the interest of the government revenue. So we are talking about an opinion again. We spoke about reasons to believe. Now we are talking about commissioner's opinion, wherein he wants to protect the interest of the revenue. The bank accounts can also be attached. It can be done, so provisional attachment can be done during the investigation. So let's say if an investigation is being carried out, if a search is being carried out, and if the officers feel that it is necessary in the interest of the revenue, they are going to provisionally attach your assets, bank accounts. But recovery can only be done after the final adjudication is complete. So once the order is issued, only then you can actually recover tax. What does recovery mean? Anybody would like to answer? So recovery is when, if you see section 79 of the GST Act, recovery is when they are going to reach out to, either you pay tax or they are going to reach out to your debtors or somebody who owes you money, that you please don't pay that person, you pay the government, because this person owes the government this money. This is how, there are multiple ways to do recovery, this is one of them. So while provisional attachment can be done during investigation, recovery cannot be done until and unless the order is issued. Provisional attachment is valid for 1 year. There were multiple case laws that came on this, that 1 year has to be read very strictly. You cannot just attack someone's property and forget about it. A person whose property is attached, he has a remedy also. He can file an objection against the provisional attachment that is done, and the commissioner will give him an opportunity of being heard. I don't know how far this is helping, because this kind of is just on paper. While they give the opportunity of being heard, they will issue a PH notice. You come, you present your case, you go. Nothing will move. Some takeaways, that provisional attachment can only be resorted in exceptional cases. You cannot just any day, every day go and attack someone's property. Only for evasion of tax or wrong utilization, availment of ITC, and some factors need to be seen. What is the nature of revenue that is involved? Is this guy a serious offender? Is this taxpayer a repeat offender? Only then provisional attachment is required to be done. Otherwise, attachment is not really encouraged by the board. So, with this we complete section 67. I am going to need your full attention to the next segment, because we are going to take up some case studies, and I would honestly want your answers on this. These are all case studies taken from High Court judgments. So can bank attachment be based on bank attachment based on an order be questioned on the ground that DRC 07 was not issued? So I'll tell you what the facts of this case are. This This was pronounced by Telangana High Court in 2025, very recently, wherein the officers issued an order and consequently they attached the property of the taxpayer, but they forgot to issue the summary order, DRC 07. Okay, so this taxpayer went to the High Court. They said that, sir, this should be quashed because DRC 07 was not issued and my property was also attached. So this provisional attachment is not correct. What do you think the High Court must have said? Would they agree with the petitioner or with the revenue? Sorry? Petitioner? Everybody thinks petitioner. Anybody thinks revenue, you can just raise your hands. No? Nobody thinks it's revenue. Really? Probably Telangana High Court misread it. So they actually went with the revenue. This was in Sri Bhagavati Granites Industries, and this was, like I said, pronounced by Telangana High Court. They said that while delayed issuance of DRC 07, it violates Rule 142.5. It does not void the order itself unless it is legally challenged. So what they said was, provisional attachment is a consequence to the order. If you are not happy with the order, there is an appeal mechanism. Go in appeal. You cannot say that because this order is bad, my provisional attachment also should be quashed. So ideally, the taxpayer should have gone into appeal for the order, and provisional attachment will still stand. That is what Telangana High Court said. They said that instruction number 4, 2023 mandates uploading DRC 01 and DRC 07 transparency. DRC 07 is a critical document for recovery and appeal process. The appeal limitation period arguably starts from DRC 07, not the physical order date. So what they said was, while DRC 07 is not issued to you, you go into appeal. But you cannot question the provisional attachment which was based on the order. Now, coming to reasons to believe, I think we have heard this term multiple times today. What is really meant by reasons to believe? So, reasons to believe means it is basically not defined under the GST law, but if I have to take a reference, I am going to go to the Indian Penal Code, and the meaning is given that a person is said to have reason to believe a thing if he has sufficient cause to believe that thing but not otherwise. Now, this is the definition of reason to believe. Can anybody understand what it means? Because for me, I could not understand this definition. If he has sufficient cause to believe that thing but not otherwise. So do we have a reason to believe that it's going to rain in Bangalore? It's something like that. You can never predict Bangalore rains, but yeah, still I'm taking that example.
I think it means that anything else is completely ruled out.
Okay. Okay, any other interpretations? This is a very interesting definition, and I would like to have all your interpretations. There's nothing right or wrong. Please come forward.
Based on the particular set of facts that are available with you, there is only one conclusion which can be arrived at. There is no possibility of plurality of the outcomes that can be any such.
So basically, yeah, you're saying basis the facts, there should be no doubts that
There
this
is no two opinions.
two opinions
There is
about
only
it.
one opinion possible, which is the opinion which is reached by the officer of the
Okay, sir. Sure. Anybody else would like to try? See, there is no right or wrong. The definition you can see it's quite wide. It can be widely interpreted. Anybody would like to give their thoughts? So, because whatever both of them said, that's completely right. But there is something more to it. Nobody? So section 67 basically refers to reasons to believe, and if we have to believe the case laws, so Honorable Supreme Court in the case of Shivnath Singh, this is back in 1971. So this specific reasons to believe has been going on since then. It observed that the words reason to believe, this suggests that the belief must be of an honest and a reasonable person. So the officer who's making the file, he should be honest and reasonable. It should be based upon reasonable grounds, and the officer concerned must act upon direct or circumstantial evidence, like Sir said, but not on mere suspicion, gossip or rumor. Okay, so we've all seen those movies wherein, the officer gets a tip, hello sir, there is a lot of gold hidden there, please go. That's not a reason to believe, because it's mere suspicion, gossip or rumor. They need to have a proper information, some concrete information to really go for investigation. I don't know how much is it being practiced on the ground, how do they form their reasons, but this is what at least the Supreme Court has laid back in 1971. So another question is, do you think the reasons to believe should be recorded in writing? We all heard that, right? They have to be put in the file. But do they have to make it available to the taxpayer? When they go for an inspection or search, do they have to show the taxpayer what are the reasons to believe? Why have I come to your premises? Yes or no?
No.
How many of us are saying no? Okay, and how many of us are saying yes? Okay, fair. So we have equal number. So the answer is no. They don't have to show it to the taxpayer. While they have to record it in writing, which is absolutely right, but it is not mandatory to show it to the taxpayer. What are my reasons to come to your premises? But if the taxpayer later on challenges that this officer did not have any reasons to come to my premises because nothing out of that search came. Let's say they came, they went, they did the search, nothing out of that came actually, and the taxpayer goes to the court and tells that this guy came without any reasons to believe. At that time, the court can actually ask him to present his reasons to believe. Doesn't mean he has to give it to the taxpayer, but he may have to give it to the court when asked for. The legal reference is section 6710 and 165(5) of the CRPC Act. And there is a case law also, which is a very famous one. Golden Cotton Industries. This was given by Gujarat High Court in 2019. And the Gujarat High Court noted that it is true that it is not necessary for the officer to state the reasons to the taxpayer, but if it is challenged that he had no reasons to believe, in that case he must disclose the material on which his belief was formed. So this is what reasons to believe really means. Witnesses, we just saw that witnesses. Okay, let's just see how many of us are really paying attention. There were 2-3 examples in the slides. Who can be a witness during the proceedings, search proceedings? PSU, right? Bank employees, right? And if anybody of you has been a part of a search, does that stand true on ground? So typically the officers bring the witnesses with them, and mostly what happens, the taxpayer, when they go to conduct a search, when they present a search warrant, it is very human to kind of go into panic, right? Okay, oh my god, GST search has started, now what name should I call? Should I call the advocate, chartered accountant, blah 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 blah, owner? And in that whole process, the officers will tell you, these are the 2 witnesses, you please sign here. This is the search warrant, these are the witnesses, and the person is going to sign. So they generally take the witnesses with them, and in almost all the cases, the taxpayer also accepts, because he has absolutely zero clue that he can also question whether this witness is independent or not independent. So this is the ground reality. The answer is, this is all, and this answer is basically basis the law and the case laws. That respectable inhabitants of the locality, inhabitants of any other locality, sensitive operations, if they are, then PSU and bank employees. So, section 6710 also says that before making a search, the officer shall call 2 or more independent and respectable inhabitants of the locality to start the search, before they start the search, and this was also covered as a part of our instructions, like we saw. Now, another question, can the search and interrogation be continued overnight? Does it happen? It happens, right? We've seen a lot of cases it happens, even in income tax it happens, but is it allowed? Is there any law which prohibits overnight searches? Like if they came 10 o'clock in the morning and if they leave the next day 10 o'clock, we hear these stories all the time, so it happens, right? While there is no law about it, the law does not provide that you have to do only 10 to 6 or 9 to 5 or something like that. But it has been held in multiple case laws that interrogation should not be conducted during midnight, and the officers must respect basic human rights of a person. So that means that you cannot stay after, let's say, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., which is like a usual office business hour, and you cannot go at 5 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. There is an Article 21 of the Constitution of India which kind of gives every citizen of India the right of protection of life and personal liberty. It says that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedures established by the law. Now, in the case of Agarwal Foundries, which was again given by the Telangana High Court, it was noted that any interrogation of the petitioner or the employees should be between 10:30 to 5 on weekdays. You cannot come on Saturday, you cannot come on Sunday, you cannot come after 5, you cannot come before 10:30, and it should be in the visible range of an advocate appointed by them. In visible range, this is important. The advocate should be there. He should be able to see you. Even if he is not able to hear the conversation that you are having with the officers, that's okay. And another one was back in 2012 by the Patna High Court, wherein it was held that interrogating the complainant at 3 a.m. So this is an income tax case law actually, that 3 a.m. the income tax department has violated the human rights of the complainant. So if we see any searches or investigations happening overnight or beyond the business hours or at awkward hours, then we can actually approach the High Court to say that my personal liberty, my human right was put to danger. So this is against the Constitution of India, and the High Court may actually quash the entire proceedings. So this is an important thing. I mean, if that's really happening, which it is happening. Now, another question: can the officer demand payment of tax during the course of search? Can he? No, right? We already saw that 79 cannot be invoked, recovery cannot be done. And if he does, let's say he says that, ab itna aaye hain, subah se sham tak, we have been working hard, why don't you pay some amount of tax, right? Just pay like 10% or 20% or whatever. What if he asks to do? What should we do? Should we say, no, we are not doing? Should we say, okay, fine, I'll do? What do you think? You know? Sorry, yeah.
Take it in writing.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Take it in writing.
Take it in writing from the officer. If he says no, I can't give it in writing, because then it will not be voluntary payment, right? So what should you do?
Pay and claim refund.
Sorry,
Pay and claim refund.
that's absolutely right. You can pay under protest, and you can claim refund later on by again approaching the High Court or during the proceedings. So High Courts have viewed that no recovery can be made during the search, and CBIC is also instructed, we saw that instruction, if the officer is insisting that the payment, then we should not tell the officer, I am not doing, you do whatever you want to, I am not paying you 1 rupee, because at that point you also want to get rid of them, right? So if they insist, then the payment can be made under protest and the refund can be claimed subsequently. We've read this instruction of 2023. So another case law of Gujarat High Court in case of Bhumi Associates. This was given back in 2021, wherein it was said that no recovery can be in any mode by check, cash, e-payment, adjustment of ITC should be made at the time of search or inspection. At the time. Okay. If the assessee comes forward to pay voluntarily, then also please ask the assessee that you pay the next day or after I have gone from here. Only then it will be construed as a voluntary payment. Otherwise, anybody can question that this is not a voluntary payment, this is a coerced payment. So this was given by Gujarat High Court, that if somebody wants to pay by BRC 03, tell them that you pay tomorrow. Again, this was given by Delhi High Court, wherein in case of Vallabh Textiles, wherein it was said that if the money is deposited under coercion, without acknowledgement during a search, then such deposit is not voluntary. And it should be refunded. In this case, they said please refund it with interest. So, kind of difficult for the government then. Again, another Delhi High Court in case of Neeraj paper, where they said that any payment which is made during search under pressure or without following the prescribed procedure cannot be regarded as voluntary, and such amounts are liable to be refunded with interest. So, time and again, the High Courts are taking this view, whatever payment is being made during the search, if the assessee goes and says that, this was not made voluntarily, then they will always take the side of the assessee and not the department. So now I think the officers have become quite smart. They don't ask you to pay right there and then. They will take a verbal promise कि आप पक्का कल कर दोगे, you will do tomorrow, no, sure, and then next day they will keep calling. Are you doing, should I come back, are you doing, should I come back, and then the payment will be done. So this is what is practically happening. Now we come to parallel proceedings. This happens all the time. What is the recourse if another authority is also initiating proceedings for the same period? So let's say there's a inspection going on, or probably inspection has happened, search has happened, the proceedings are going on, and if you receive another GST audit notice under section 65 for the same period, what are you supposed to do? Should you entertain? Should you not entertain? Yes, no? No? Nobody wants to try? So the answer is that, and this is only a practical answer, may not always hold true, but you can intimate the subsequent authority, the person who's coming later, the audit authorities, that see, we've already gone through this inspection and search, and our proceedings are pending with Mr. XYZ, the officer, this jurisdiction, and please do not initiate parallel proceedings. They can also, taxpayer can also give grievance before the additional or the joint commissioner, and also intimate the jurisdictional principal commissioner about it, that I cannot be made subject to two different authorities for the same period for the same subject matter. However, there is a section also which protects to a large extent, which is 62B of CGST Act, which says that where a proper officer under the state GST or the UT GST has initiated any proceedings on a subject matter, no proceeding shall be initiated by the PO under this Act on the same subject matter. It clearly states that on the same subject matter you cannot have two parallel proceedings. But let's say you've undergone a DGGI investigation on your ITC part, okay, whether you've claimed ITC, wrong ITC, whatever, and then a show cause notice comes to you wherein in which it says that you did not disclose your output supplies properly in your GSTR 1, or you did not pay tax appropriately. Should you entertain? Should you reply to it? Yes, because it is not the same subject matter, right? Different things. The instruction also says this. I am just going to read out the highlighted para. The principal commissioner must engage in dialogue with the other investigating officers to consider whether it can be consolidated, whether only one of the offices should pursue these subject matters with respect to the taxpayer, and the other offices consolidate their material with that office. Now, if this outcome is not feasible, this is only suggested. If this outcome is not feasible, the reasons should be confirmed on file. For every reason, just put it on file and forget about it. Easy life, right? There was a very famous case law, I think this was given by Calcutta High Court in 2023 of RP Buildcon. Now, there were audit proceedings going on, and there was also anti-evasion proceedings going on against the same assessee for the same period. But the Calcutta High Court took a view that since the audit proceedings under section 65 has already commenced, it is appropriate that proceedings should be taken to the logical end. The proceedings which are initiated by anti-evasion for the same period shall not be proceeded with any further proceedings. So this is a favorable case law which can be cited if any of your clients are going through parallel proceedings by any two jurisdictions. Whether the taxpayer can see copies of documents which are seized during search? Can they? Yeah, we've already seen that. The taxpayer should be allowed to take copies. In exceptional cases, officer has a discretion to deny that you cannot take copies. Also, this is a part of instruction which we already saw. Now, can an assessee demand certified copies of the order sheet, note sheet, search warrant during the GST presentation and challenge the show cause notice on this ground? Can somebody challenge a show cause notice that they did not give me a charge sheet, order sheet, note sheet, search warrant, certified copies I'm talking about? Can somebody challenge? So courts have held that the copies of investigative documents are not to be provided to taxpayers. This is only for department's internal consumption. You cannot go and ask that you give me certified copies of search warrants, etc. And issuance of show cause notice for non-payment of GST, if it is compliant by law, it will be upheld. It cannot be quashed just because they did not give you the certified copy of the order, etc. This was also held by Odisha High Court in Jagannath Dham superstructures that as the impugned order is appealable under the statute and the right to appeal has not been curtailed, then the grievance raised does not survive. So they did not interfere with the High Court's decision. So what is the legality of a search operation which is extended beyond a reasonable duration or involve undue hardship to the taxpayer and family? I think we all kind of discussed this. That unusually prolonged and intrusive searches that exceed the bounds of the statute, such as confining the family members. You put all the family members in one room, you are not allowing them to step out for days, 2 days, 4 days, 8 days, whatever. Beyond permitted timeline at 3 o'clock in the night, 2 o'clock in the night. And if you are violating anybody's fundamental rights means right to liberty, right to freedom, then it will be quashed. The courts have time and again upheld this constitutional right. And if you feel that any of these rights have been violated in any of the cases, please approach the courts, because this entire proceeding will then go down the drain for the officers. So in Paresh Nathalal Chauhan, the Gujarat High Court held that prolonged search, so the search was done for 8 days straight. So 8 days the officers were at the premises of the taxpayer, even day and night every time. And family confinement, they are not contemplated by the statute, and the amount of violation of fundamental rights thereby necessitating corrective proceedings. So they kind of said that you need to do the proceedings again, all these proceedings are bad in law, and they quashed it. What is the effect of improper or absent authorization? It will not be considered as a valid search or a valid inspection, of course. So this was also held in Allahabad High Court, wherein it said that absence of proper authorization of search and seizure, it vitiates the entire proceedings and warrants. And also they ordered the release of everything which was seized, the documents, the goods, everything in this case. What is the outcome if the search and seizure authorization is flawed? So if it's not by the JC, if it is not in form INS 01, then what happens? Same thing, the Supreme Court upheld the Delhi High Court's ruling that improperly authorized search and seizure, lack of jurisdiction, absence of statutory basis, absence of reasons to believe, it cannot be sustained, and the entire actions order were quashed. All the items which were seized were ordered to be released. Very important question. Power to seize cash. Do they have powers to seize cash? Can an officer come to the premises if they see bundles of cash? Can they seize cash? How many are saying yes? Okay. Sorry?
Yes, they can.
Okay. No? Anybody saying no? Yeah, so they don't have a power to seize cash. They cannot seize cash. Anybody can tell me why? Because there is a legal basis to it.
Generally, cash has nothing to do with GST.
Okay, you're close. Maybe just elaborate a little bit.
It's like the goods or whatever we are registered.
Yeah,
We are dealers.
absolutely right. Correct. So, cash cannot be seized. Why? Because money is excluded from the definition of goods, like ma'am said. under section 275, and hence cash cannot be seized. But one thing that they can do if they find bundles of cash, sorry?
Income tax.
Yes, they will intimate the income tax authorities, right? So from here or here, they will hold your ear. So in case of KM Food Infrastructure, the DGGI, it was a DGGI case, and Delhi High Court held that cash is excluded from the definition of goods and would not fall within the definition of money, and hence it cannot be seized. Same thing, this was Anshul Jain by Delhi High Court. Yeah, provisional release of goods, which I think we've already discussed, but the Supreme Court in the case of GLS Film Industry said that procedure prescribed for release of seized goods must be strictly followed. High Court cannot order direct release contrary to statutory requirements. So basically, Section 67 and the courts time and again have laid a lot of importance on the procedure being followed. If you feel that any procedure has been skipped, let's say very small thing, they came for a search, okay? They showed you the search warrant. They told you these are the independent witnesses, but they forgot to take your sign, right? The proceeding can be quashed. You can tell, he didn't show me the search warrant. I don't know why. The procedure is wrong. So if you approach the courts are definitely going to take the taxpayer side if the procedure has not been followed by the authorities. I think we'll just take a quick break, tea break, and we'll be back.
15 minutes.
Hi, so welcome back after a short break. The next section that we are going to cover after 67 is section 68, which is inspection of goods in movement. So while this section I have not covered too much in detail because this is primarily related to the e-way bills. But I am just going to take you through the legal provision. So section 68 governs the section for e-way bills. It empowers the government to prescribe documents and devices a person in charge of conveyance which he should carry if the consignment value of goods which exceed the specific amount. It also refers to Rule 138, which is nothing but applicability of e-way bill and the details thereof. What should be covered, what should not be covered, what is the amount beyond which a e-way bill should be issued, etc. What are the powers of officers, when can a conveyance be intercepted, what documents should the transporter be carrying along with the e-way bill, etc. So I'm not covering because this will not have a direct bearing with the topic for today. The next section is actually section 69, which is arrest. But first, I think it's better to go through section 70 and then go through arrest, because arrest is a slightly longer provision. So section 70 is power to issue summons. How many of you have actually dealt with the summon? I think summon has become quite a common thing in GST. Most of us must have really answered a summon on behalf of a client or otherwise. So what does section 70 cover? It says that it gives the power to proper officer to do what? To issue a summon to any person whose attendance he may consider necessary. So it's very wide, very vague. An officer can summon anybody if he thinks that any XYZ person is necessary to appear before me, he is going to issue a summon for that. What is the purpose? The purpose of a summon is people are called to either give evidence or produce any documents in an inquiry. And persons who are summoned, they are bound actually to attend the summons, either in person or through an authorized representative, which could be a chartered accountant or an advocate or a company representative. And they are bound to state the truth during the examination or make statements or produce documents. Any idea what is the punishment if you fail to attend a summon? Happens, right? Sometimes the summon comes, we don't receive it, or when we receive it's too late. Anybody has an idea what is the punishment if we miss a summon, miss to attend? So basically it comes from the IPC, and the punishment may extend up to 7 years of imprisonment and with fine if you miss to attend a summon. And if you do not state the truth despite knowing the truth, if you lie or if you hide the truth, then any idea what is the punishment? It is imprisonment up to 6 months and a fine. So a summon, while it is issued very commonly, has serious repercussions if not attended or if not taken seriously. So a summon, basically as per section 193 and 228 of IPC, it is deemed to be a judicial proceeding, and that is why hefty fines and imprisonment has been prescribed for people who do not attend the summons or who choose to not state the truth in a summon hearing. There is a instruction again which was issued by CBIC on summons, and these were the guidelines which were given to the officers that who can issue a summon. So summon, you don't require a joint commissioner or anybody, it is superintendent, but with a prior approval from deputy or assistant commissioner. Again, reasons to be recorded in writing. Threatening language cannot be used in a summon. So nobody can issue a summon saying that if you do not come, I'm going to put you behind the bars or I'm going to make your life miserable, etc. etc. Recording the appearance or non-appearance and maintaining the copy of that statement. So if you appear, then they are going to maintain a copy of that statement, whatever you give, and they are going to get it signed by you only. So once they record your statement, they will give it to you. You sign it, first you read it, whether it is correct or not correct, and then you sign it and they are going to maintain a copy. And if you don't appear, that also gets recorded. Summons should clearly say whether the person who is summoned, whether he is an accused, whether he is a co-accused, or he is a witness. Okay? Sometimes, somebody receives a summons saying that you are summoned before Mr. XYZ on 6th of August, 5 p.m. at this address. Now, just imagine, I don't know whether I'm an accused, whether I'm a co-accused, or I'm a witness. What am I supposed to think about it, right? So, it has been mandated that the summons should always say whether you are an accused, co-accused, or you are a witness. And again, do not issue summons for documents which are available on the portal, your returns, credit ledger, cash ledger, etc. etc. Senior management should not be summoned initially. So, there was a phase about 2 years back wherein all the MD, CEOs, CFOs were summoned, and then they were asked, why did you not pay GST on this supply? Why did you pay 12% GST and not 18% GST? Now, MD would not know, right? Why did I not pay? Why are you calling the MD? Ask the person who knows about it, right? If you have a backache, you don't go to a pediatrician, you go to an orthopedic, right? So call the relevant person and then ask questions. So this instruction came to say that please do not call people who do not have the relevant information. Din is necessary. Summoning officer must be present at the time communicated. This is quite obvious, but of course for reasons we all know, this was put that you call me at 11, you reach office at 1, then you go on lunch break, then you come back at 2:30, then you have another hearing, then you go on tea break, then my summon which was at 11 o'clock gets heard at 5 o'clock. So please don't do that. Call the officers. Avoid repeated summons without confirming the service. So you can't issue summon today, tomorrow and day after tomorrow and then say that 3 summons are issued, this person did not come, and hence now I am going to issue recovery proceedings against him. That cannot be done. You need to wait for a reasonable time to issue repeated summons, and please confirm whether the person to whom the summon is addressed is actually receiving those summons. Okay? Maybe the summons is being sent to wrong email ID or the wrong address. So ensure that the summon is duly received and acknowledged. After 3 unanswered summons at reasonable intervals, file a complaint against IPC under IPC, but ensure that proper service is done as per section 169 of the CGST Act. So section 169 of the CGST Act basically tells us that how to properly serve a notice or an order, right? So it's been kind of guided by the board that issue summons at reasonable intervals. Don't issue one after the other. Ensure it is accepted or acknowledged. And if nobody answers still, then you can go to IPC, but ensure that the summon has been properly serviced under section 169. only then IPC complaint can be registered. So some key aspects, it's just kind of a revision. Proper officer is the superintendent, but of course with with proper authorization, superiors can also act. Audit superintendent does not have the power to issue summons. This is a very important thing which a lot of taxpayers don't know. So any superintendent from the audit division cannot issue a summon. He does not have the power. While DGTI can issue summons to anybody and everybody, irrespective of the jurisdiction. Admissibility of the statement. Now, statements which are made before the GST officers, they are admissible as an evidence. So, please ensure that everything what you say has been recorded properly in the statement. Read the statement carefully because that statement is going to be used against you as an evidence. So, there is this anomaly in the law that section 25 and 26 of the Indian Evidence Act. Okay, that a person who is accused, his own confession is not admissible as an evidence in the court of law. Okay, so let's say I am accused of a murder. If I confess, this confession cannot be admitted as an evidence in the court of law. But GST law does not work on this premise. Even if you are an accused, if you actually admit to some kind of offense, it will be admitted as an evidence in the court of law. So please be careful when the clients are giving statements, read carefully. And law of cross-examination. So a lot of times summons are taken on the basis of the supplier statement or the recipe or the customer statement. Now, as a taxpayer, I have a right to cross-examine that person who has given statement against me. Okay, so cross-examination means you call that person, the proper officer will be there, and I'm going to cross-examine him that why did you tell that I did not really supply to you without the invoice. Which invoice was it? Why did you give that statement? So I have the right to cross-examine the person. Accompaniment of CA and advocate. Now this has been subject to multiple case laws by the high courts. Judiciary is also divided on this, but usually practices are denied. But there are case laws which say that advocate or chartered accountant can be in visible distance but not in audible distance. Law of retraction. Now this is a very important thing, that if you've given a statement which is incorrect, okay, later on you realize that, oh no, I shouldn't have said that. This wasn't correct. I gave the wrong facts. It can be retracted. You can go and retract your statement back. The clients can go and retract their statement back, but it should be done promptly. I mean, you can't sit on it for 6 months, 1 year. Later on, you realize, oh, what I said was not right. Let me just go and retract. That cannot be done. So you have to file an affidavit. There is a process for it. You have to file an affidavit saying that I want to retract my statement. Whatever I said the other day, I did not mean it, or it was coerced out of me. I answered in duress. I panicked. Whatever the reason is, you can put in the affidavit and retract your statement. Now, again, some few case studies on section 70 we are going to take. I will just request everybody to participate. Can a consultant advocate appear for summons on behalf of a director? Can. Yes, if he is authorized properly, he can. If not, can they accompany the officer of the company summoned by the department for recording of the statement? So can a chartered accountant or a consultant advocate, can they accompany the company representative? They can, but they should not be in auditable distance. They can be in visible distance. Now, again, this is very subjective. Some officers will allow, some officers will not allow. So they will take the client inside, they will ask you to wait outside. Or they will tell you, no, please leave the premises. It is very subjective, there is nothing given in the law. Again, saying authorized representative. Now, there is a case law in the case of Nandini Satpathy, and this was given by the Supreme Court back in 1978. Anybody knows who is Nandini Satpathy?
Chief Minister of Orissa.
That's right, sir. So she was the Chief Minister of Orissa at that point, before this, and there were proceedings against the ex-Chief Minister of Orissa. And at that point in time, it was presented before the Supreme Court that can an advocate accompany Nandini Satpathy? that time this question was answered by the Supreme Court. They said that yes, an advocate shall be allowed again in visible distance, not in audible distance. That is when the roots of this entire thing really emerged. In the case of Kamlesh Kumar Mishra, State of Maharashtra, Bombay High Court said that having regard to the orders and the petition, we allow the petition and permit the petitioner's advocate to remain present at the time of recording of the statement at a visible but not at an audible distance. Okay. Again, several writ petitions were filed in GAIL Gas Company, which was very recent, 2019, and it was highlighted before the Delhi High Court. The Delhi High Court, so GAIL Gas, there was this issue that who should go and record the statement, and as they said that anybody who is familiar with relevant records should be summoned. Okay, and this is generally used as a precedent. You can't call MD, CFO. If the CFO is of a big company, he wouldn't know that what rates of tax are you charging, what ITC are you taking. You call the tax head, you call the indirect tax head, whoever is the relevant person. Can a person request videography during the recording of summons? Can we? Yes? Any conditions? You have to bear the cost of videography. That's all. But when do you think a videography should be requested? Like every time, summons are very common. You can't request every time that please, we want to record it on a video. So when you feel that the officers are very non-cooperative, they've already assumed that you are a tax evader, you feel that they are going to use coercion and force. At that time, you can request for a videography. The cost will have to be borne by the taxpayer. It was also given in the instructions which we, I think, discussed earlier. Again, Bombay High Court, same case, Kamlesh Kumar Mishra. It said that we permit videography at the cost of the petitioner. This was a very recent one, another from Bombay High Court, Deepak Kumar Kakadia, 2025. They said that they allowed the bail and they also allowed that video recording of the questioning should be done and the advocate should be present. And all of this obviously at security deposit. So the taxpayer has to deposit some money and then he can be granted a bail. That's what the case was about. But it said that videography shall be done and advocate shall be present. Can a party challenge an adjudication order under CGST and what is the status of appeals rights against such order? So, what happened here was that the demand order was challenged on the grounds that the amount demanded was more than the amount proposed in the notice. Okay, so notice said, let's say 100 rupees, but the order said 1000 rupees. Okay, while proper officer submitted that already an appropriate notice was already issued and the assessee was not summoned. Since the impugned order was appealable, the writ petition was disposed. So the High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court said that the order is appealable. You need not kind of quash the proceedings. You go and appeal against it, take the appropriate remedy, and that decision will actually be binding on you. Same thing, advocate present. So multiple case laws are there. This is from Madhya Pradesh High Court. Can the authorities arrest an individual who is summoned under section 70? So they called you by a summon 70 and when you went, they arrested you. Can they do it? Can they do it, number one, or can you also ask some protection from the court? Will the court give you protection? Can it be done? First of all? No? Can the court give you protection if you feel that if I go, they are going to arrest me? Yes? So the court can actually grant you a protection on this. So a person who apprehends arrest, he should also appear for the summon, but arrest without court approval is not permitted where such protection is granted. So before going for the summon, maybe you can take a protection order from the court that I feel that I'm going to be arrested when I go for the summon hearing, please grant me. And you have to have reasons why. You just cannot, say that last night I had a dream that they were going to arrest me, so please give me court protection, right? So, yeah, this was like...
But can they arrest after calling on someone?
No, they cannot. They need to have an arrest warrant with them. So Rakesh Kumar Chaubey in Uttarakhand High Court. But there is there are some offences in the GST law which don't require a warrant also, but they are very serious in nature. So you would know if you are being charged with something of tax evasion of 5 crore and up. We are going to discuss it in the arrest part. If the petitioner appears as directed, he shall not be arrested without express leave of the court. So this was another protection given. Yeah, so can a mere summon be the sole basis for provisional attachment of bank accounts? Can it be done? That I am issuing a summon, I have got a summon from the officer, and basis that summon, provisional attachment of my bank account is done. Can it be done? So provisional attachment cannot be ordered only because a summon has been issued, right? Because we read that grounds to believe, reasons to believe, all of that. Section 83 basically says that it should be exercised pursuant to a proceeding under 67 and 70. Attachment must have a real nexus with safeguarding government revenue. Not merely just because a summon is issued, now I will attach the bank account as well. The Bombay High Court in the case of Gehna Trading held that the mere issuance of summon under 70 cannot be the foundation for provisional attachment of a bank account. Yeah, can DGGI officers issue summons under section 70 and is their jurisdictions distinct from state authorities? Are they authorized? DGGI officers can issue summons? Yes. And is their jurisdiction different from the state authorities? So the question basically means, can the state authorities and DGGI issue summons maybe for different subject matters, let's say? Can they issue to the same taxpayer? Yes? So DGGI officers are authorized to issue summons, number one. And number two, their jurisdiction is distinct from state authorities. Both may proceed on different aspects or causes. Now, in Yasho Industries, the Gujarat High Court had confirmed that officers of DGGI are proper officers and they are fully authorized to issue summons under section 70. Now,
DGGI officers.
DGGI officers are central officers now.
Is there a full form of DGGA?
It is Directorate General of GST. Can GST authorities under CGST Act continue investigation and enforce summons even if there are legal challenge or pending proceedings? So, the Delhi High Court in Bhagat Ram Om Prakash case had held that investigation by GST authorities under section 70 is not precluded to pending challenges to the summons. So even if there are any pending challenging to the summons, they can continue doing their activity of summons, recording, issue of show cause notice, order, etc. It doesn't matter, proceedings may continue as per the law. Yeah, so can authorities issue notices to third parties to stop payments to an assessee if he has been issued a summons? So let's say summon has been issued, now I'm asking all the debtors don't pay him. Can they do that? Yes, no? No? So 71 does not authorize to issue directions to third parties. It is only a summon. You can call somebody to record statement. You cannot go beyond those powers and ask people, please don't pay him because the summon has been issued. Correct? It was also held by the Andhra Pradesh High Court and Sri Sai Balaji Associates. I think we've already answered, but still, can GST authorities summon senior officers of a company and what directions have courts given regarding the selection of such officers?
Same thing to relevant person only it should be given.
Right. So, Gale Gas we already discussed that the Delhi High Court had held that Gale Gas has to depute concerned officers who have knowledge about the matter, the transaction, and who can reply to the queries. So please call only those officers. This case was with the DGGI again, Directorate General of GST Intelligence. And parallel proceedings we've already covered. Yeah, if a summon is issued to a company official or an employee under section 70, is it valid? What is expected of the addressee? So instead of the company, some officer or let's say tax head or CFO, he has been summoned. Is it valid? It is valid because the proper officer has the power to summon any person any employee, any officer for inquiry or evidence purposes. So he feels he can even call the MD, the CEO, the global chairman, whoever he wants. Same thing. So can inquiries and summons be challenged on the grounds of procedural fairness or personal circumstances? This case specifically pertains to the lockdown during COVID time. And what is the role of higher courts? I know we are not under lockdown and we don't hope to be, but if let's say, India-Pakistan war would have happened, can somebody be summoned? Is it valid? Is the summon valid at that time? So, in this case, the Supreme Court had held that they will not interfere with the issuance of summon, but the authority must consider requests for deferment of recording statement during lockdown on merits. So, probably he can ask you to appear on a BC, or he can ask you that, okay, I'll give you a deferment till the time this specific circumstance is over. So, somebody is in a hospital, okay, you can't call him for summon because his personal circumstances are such that he cannot be called. So, these are for all those cases, exceptional circumstances. Video conferencing we already discussed. Joint investigation under section 70. So the Supreme Court in this case, again it was a DGGI investigation. So they said that the investigating agency, which is DGGI, they will decide whether they want to do a joint or a multiple investigation, right? They have discretion to conduct joint or separate investigation depending on the causes of action involved. Okay, yeah, this is a very interesting one. Do you think a person has a right to be silent during summon proceedings? They call me, I decide I will not speak. You keep asking, I will not speak. Do I have the right to be silent? You ask me 100 questions, I will not speak. Yes, no. How many of us feel that we have a right to be silent? Okay, no. Somebody feels?
No, they have to reply something.
So you're saying...
At least that I don't know, at least they can say.
Okay, so you're saying that I don't have the right to be silent. I have to speak something, maybe I don't know. But if I don't know, that could be lie also, right? Because I know. Then I will be imprisoned for 6 months.
No, the officer can record that you were silent.
Yeah, he will record that, but can I be silent in the first place? That is my question. Officer will record later.
And the very purpose of giving someone will be defeated.
Exactly. So do you think that we don't have the right to be silent? Anybody else have any views? You all are silent, man. You have all the right to be silent. All the last two benches. We have the right to be silent. It is Article 23 of the Constitution of India, which says that no person who is accused of an offence be compelled to be a witness against himself. It also comes from Section 161 of the CRPC Act, that no person is bound to answer any question which exposes him to a criminal charge. So we can be silent, right? So this is not a tax case law, but it comes from NSR Krishna Prasad. In 1992, it was held that right to silence is not an offence and cannot be said to be an obstruction to proceedings also. I will not speak, it is my choice, it is my constitutional right rather. I think we've already discussed.
Then what will happen if he doesn't speak? Then what will happen?
No, so they will issue you a summons. They will record that this person didn't say anything, but I still have reasons to believe. Rather, now my reason is even more concrete, right? And I'm going to go ahead. But the point is, can I be silent? I don't want to answer anything.
But every time they issue, we cannot be silent.
So, sir, if you're silent and if you're aware of something, I mean, this is just going to add to those reasons. So, if you are silent because you don't know anything, then they can't do anything about it.
No, it's not advisable to be silent.
Yeah, but
you
they
have
can
the
be
right
silent.
to be silent.
Yeah, they cannot like arrest you because you're silent. So, what is the evidentiary value of the statement recorded during a summons? We've discussed, right, that in normal situations, in case of any criminal actions, my own statement cannot be used against me as an evidentiary value. It is not permitted in the court of law. If I confess to actually having committed a murder, then it cannot be I'm not committed a murder, by the way, but just telling you. So I've repeated this twice, so you should not get the wrong idea. So it cannot be admitted in the court of law. But in GST Act, this safety or this this net of safety is not permitted. Whatever you give the statement, even if it is a confession, it will be admitted as an evidence. So, taxpayer can seek a cross-examination. We've already discussed. So some do's for the taxpayers if they are summoned. One is state only facts. Please do not state your interpretations. Okay. Whatever is asked, we should always advise clients that whatever is asked, give a point-to-point answer. Do not show that you are a tax pro, you know everything. Because sometimes when you speak a little too much, some things may come out which are not required. Right? Answer what is asked, no unnecessary additional information to be given. Keep a note of the statement given with yourself. See, when we give a statement, when we sign the statement later on, they don't give us a copy. So sometimes what happens is in the summon they will ask me, can you give me your state-wise trial balance? I will say that I will give it 15 days later. There are some 5-6 things they asked, I said that I will give 15 days later. Now 15 days later I have forgotten. I remember only 2 items. So whatever you're saying, just keep a note of it somewhere that I have to give the officers these things in 15 days. Or I have said that this officer had actually, or rather this employee had come to our premises, he did this, he did that, whatever it is, just keep a note of it somewhere. Just as soon as you come out of the summon proceedings, note it down, whatever you've said. If there is a summon, it is advisable that a practice session should be done with a professional, especially if you know what the summon is about. Recording of a summon should be read carefully before signing because it will be admitted in the court of law. So what can be done if a statement is being recorded under threat or coercion? We've discussed. Anybody would like to answer? Statement is recorded under threat or coercion. Yeah, you can retract your statement through an affidavit. It is also covered by a couple of case laws. But you should do it at the earliest opportunity. Like I said, you cannot go 6 months later. You know, it should be in a reasonable timeline. It was held by Rajasthan High Court in Alwar versus Khandelwal product, ACTU Alwar, that the so-called retraction after a long gap loses its significance and cannot be accepted. Also, the Calcutta High Court in the case of Subodh Das had held that it should be retracted at the earliest point of time, and it could not have been the basis of adjudication if it is retracted later. So this is how an affidavit looks like. I don't know whether it is visible, but this is the affidavit which says that I would like to retract my statement because of XYZ reasons. Now we come to arrest. So arrest is actually a very rare remedy which is probably taken by the GST officers. But in the recent times, we've seen a lot of news, right, that this person is arrested because GST fraud, circular trading, wrongful ITC, fake invoices, bogus trading, etc., etc., etc. So that is why this arrest provisions kind of become important for us, just to enhance our knowledge. I just hope none of our clients have to go through this. So power to arrest is given by section 69 to the officers, and section 69 says that there are 4 provisions in section 132, which is basically contravention of the act. If these 4 things happen, then he can arrest. He has the right to arrest. What are these? You have supplied goods or services without an invoice with an intent to evade tax. Okay. So for this clause to trigger, the commissioner has to establish that there was an intent to evade tax. Without an intent to evade tax, he cannot be able to arrest you. How does he decide whether there is an intent to evade tax? I mean, how would he know what is running in my mind? See, he has to kind of prove that there was some act which is done by the taxpayer. It should be a positive act on the part of the taxpayer which says that, which kind of gives him that impression that yes, he wanted to evade tax. And whose responsibility is it to prove that there was an intent? Is it the taxpayer's responsibility to defend himself, or is it the commissioner's responsibility to prove that this guy wanted to evade tax. Correct. So it is always a burden to prove on the department that there was an intent to evade tax. This is condition number 1. Now condition number 2 is fake invoices. Issuing invoices without actually supplying the goods or services, leading to wrongful tax credit. Now the invoice is issued, but there was no underlying supply made, which led to the recipient availing wrongful credit. Okay. If the recipient has not availed credit, what do you think? Can he arrest? Let's say I issued an invoice, there was no underlying supply, but the recipient did not take credit. Can he arrest me? Can he? See, it says leading to wrongful credit, right? So if somebody has taken the credit, only then he can put that allegation on me. Without that, it is of no use. So the person has, let's say, taken the credit and reversed it. Even then, he cannot arrest me. Okay. So for a commissioner to have a reason to believe, there must exist an evidence that the person has taken the credit, and in absence of any such evidence, this allegation will not survive. Now, third is fraudulent credit. This is primarily linked to the second condition, which says that claiming input tax credit without proper documentation. So, the second condition, fake invoice, was from the perspective of a supplier. But the third condition is from the perspective of a recipient. Correct? That I have availed credit and he can arrest me if there was no underlying supply, if there was an invoice but no underlying supply. Right? So, this is linked to the previous one.
This arrest can be for how many days or where?
I'll come to that, sir. Just give me some time. So generally, these offences, like specifically clause, the second and the third one, fake invoice and fraudulent credit, basically these are linked to each other. They go to first the supplier, then they understand, oh, we've not moved any goods, there is no e-way bill, there is no lorry receipt, there is no transportation proof. Then they will go to the recipient. So when B gets instigated, C will automatically get instigated. Okay. Then the fourth is unpaid tax. Now, you've collected tax from the customer and you did not pay it to the government for more than 3 months. Till 3 months they will give you time, but after that they have grounds to arrest you on this. Okay. So commissioner has the reason to believe that a person has committed one of the following offences. He may order a central tax officer to arrest that person. Now, this is what you had asked, sir. So what they have said is that if your tax evaded or ITC wrongly availed or utilized it, if it exceeds 5 crore rupees, then the punishment is imprisonment up to 5 years, up to, and with fine. And the type of offence is cognizable and non-bailable. So I'll just take 2 minutes to explain what is cognizable and non-bailable. Some of you might know. See, non-bailable offence means something serious, some serious offence you have committed, and you will not be able to take a bail without you being presented to the magistrate first. Whereas bailable offences, the moment you are arrested, you have a right to get yourself bailed out. Okay, this is so cognizable and non-bailable, and non-cognizable and bailable. That is how they both go. So in the first case, when it exceeds 5 crores, imprisonment up to 5 years with fine. If it is between 2 crore to 5 crores, then imprisonment up to 3 years with fine. It is a non-cognizable and bailable offence. So last 3 are bailable offences. Anything beyond 5 crores if you've done, मतलब बड़ा घोटाला किया है, मतलब तुमको bail नहीं मिलेगा. Okay. The next 3 are all bailable offences between 1 to 2 crore and below 1 crore. Up to 1 year, up to 6 months, commits or abets commission of an offence specified in clause F. Now what is clause F is that, now this is very important for chartered accountants actually. Falsifies or substitutes financial records or produces fake accounts or documents or furnishes any false information with an intent to evade tax. So can chartered accountants be arrested? Can they fall in this clause? We've seen, right, we've read these news in the past, but ideally the courts do not really support unless they can really prove that you had an intent to help the client to evade tax. Now, just one quick fact about GST arrest, that there was a data which was furnished to the Supreme Court that from July 17, when GST was introduced, to March 24, the number of arrests under GST varied annually. Okay. Now, broadly, every year there have been more than 100 arrests. But in 2021, there were 460 arrests across India for GST offences. And the highest arrests have been done in the state of Gujarat. So just some fun fact. I'm not saying that some place has high tax offenders. Okay, yeah, so this is again power to arrest, bailable and non-bailable offences. Like we said, bailable offence, you have a right to claim bail. Non-bailable offence, it is at the discretion of the magistrate. Police can release you on bailable offences, but for non-bailable offences, only courts will be able to release you. Serious offences are non-bailable, less serious offences are bailable. But one small observation I would like to kind of draw from this chart. What is the maximum imprisonment that somebody can go for? 5 years. Only 5 years. I mean, if you look at it that way, it's only 5 years. You can like do 500 crores of ghotala and only go for 5 years.
No, but after that also he has to pay.
Yeah?
After that also.
Yeah, fine, no, he'll pay, whatever. But only 5 years. Finally, I'm just going to jail for 5 years. I'm not encouraging somebody to do it, but it's just a small observation. So there was a instruction which was issued in 2022 on arrests. Very important, but arrest should not be routine. It is a very serious thing, so officers have to go very carefully. Must be based on credible material, clear reasons. Arrest should only be done if custodial investigation is necessary. If you think that the person is at a flight risk, then you can go and arrest him. If you think he is going to tamper evidence, then you can go and arrest him. If you think that he's a repeat offender or he's a mastermind behind something very big, something like a 1992 scam, then you can go and arrest him. You cannot arrest anybody for interpretational issues like HSM classification, valuation, etc. And you should also assess if the taxpayer is cooperating. If he is cooperating, there is no need to arrest. Now, what is the procedure? So there is an arrest memo which is issued. It should include your date, time and grounds for arrest. Be shared with the arrestee. It should be acknowledged. Means it should be signed by the arrestee. And you should immediately notify the nominated person. So if you are arresting somebody and if he nominates, let's say, his lawyer, his spouse, whatever, you have to notify them immediately. If you are arresting multiple people in the same case, you have to have separate arrest memo for each one of them. Women can only be arrested by women officers. And post-arrest, what needs to be done is that bail must be offered if it's a bailable offence. So you will be asked, do you want bail? And it's your choice. Of course, you will say yes, but yeah. In non-bailable offences, you have to be produced before the magistrate within 24 hours. Now, when do the 24 hours actually start? Because I did a search, I had an arrest memo, I arrested you. What is the exact time when the 24 hours, and yes, arrest memo has the time, right, when you are arrested. So when do you think that 24 hours, when will it start? Because this is a very important procedure. If you are not produced before the magistrate within 24 hours, they have to release you. Anybody?
When it is when the order that when it is mentioned, the time is mentioned.
In the arrest memo?
Yeah, from there it will start because he will not be able to do anything after that.
You gave the right and the wrong answer both. So you're right, when somebody's liberty is curtailed, right, from that moment 24 hours will start. Not from the time which is given on the arrest memo. Because arrest memo is in their hands. They came at 5 o'clock. After 5 o'clock they did not let me exit these premises. But they arrested me at 1 o'clock in the night. They will put 1 o'clock, but actually I was arrested at 5 o'clock. Okay? And this is I'm not saying this is a case law. Telangana High Court in the case of T. Ramadevi.
So in that sense, it would be like as soon as the search started,
Yeah, so
Once they enter your premises.
so search cannot again lead to an arrest.
Yeah.
If they're searching, they will just seize goods. If they want to arrest, they will go with an arrest warrant only. Very recently, and this is not again related to GST, but I will just take 5 minutes to discuss the Arvind Kejriwal case law, right? Which it was heard by the Supreme Court in 2025. It was for the PMLA Act, right? Money laundering. So in that case, the court, the Supreme Court gave out its ruling that, and it is very detailed, and everybody should read it, that what are the necessary actions for an arrest that the officers should do. Okay, otherwise the arrest will be considered as non-compliant with the law. So they said that courts have the power to judicially review the legality of arrest. Okay, if you've not done the arrest memo properly, if you've not presented before the magistrate within 24 hours, if you've not, given them basic human rights, all of this gets reviewed by the courts. So the officers have to be very careful while they're arresting somebody to do all the check boxes. And the Supreme Court specifically said that it cannot be arbitrary, it cannot be on the whims and the fancies of the authorities. Because there were multiple errors which were noted by the Supreme Court in the Arvind Kejriwal arrest. So they had said that these 5 things you should not do while arresting somebody. Now, what are the safeguards in an arrest for the taxpayer? If a taxpayer is arrested for cognizable and non-bailable offence, means the first one, 5 crore and up, he must be informed in writing of the grounds of arrest, and he must be produced before a magistrate within 24 hours of his arrest. Okay. This is slightly different from the search proceedings that we did, that they have to inform in writing of the grounds of arrest. In the previous one they said that you don't need to share your case notes with them in writing, right? But here you have to share the grounds of arrest with them in writing and presentation before magistrate. If a person is arrested for a non-cognizable and bailable offence, less serious ones, then the Deputy Commissioner can release him on bail, and he will be subject to the same provision as the officer in charge of a police station. What are the rights of the arrested person? This comes from Article 22 of the Constitution of India, which are fundamental rights. So, right to be informed of the grounds of arrest, right to consult by a legal practitioner of his choice, right to be produced before the nearest magistrate within 24 hours, right to not be detained in police custody beyond period of 24 hours without the authority of magistrate. So these are all the rights that everybody has. Now, arrest procedure timeline from pre-arrest to post-arrest, I think we can skip this in the less time, but I'm just going to take you through this. Is it mandatory to provide grounds of arrest in writing to the person being arrested? Yeah, we've already discussed. It is important. There was this landmark case which was given by the Supreme Court last year in the case of Kshitij Ghildial versus the DGGI, okay, which said that the Delhi High Court had held that because the government failed to supply the grounds of arrest in writing to the petitioner, it is in contravention of the law. And they said that this arrest is not correct, and you have not, abided by the fundamental and statutory right of informing the person. So they held that the arrest was illegal, and the petitioner should be released immediately from judicial custody. Now, because of this case law, this year, in January 2025, the CBIC came up with these guidelines, just basis the Kshitij Ghildial case. They said that the grounds of arrest must be communicated, and basis this Kshitij Ghildial and Pankaj Bansal and Prabir Purkayas, this instruction was released. They said that reasons for arrest are different than grounds of arrest. Okay, what are reasons of arrest? They are internal document for internal purposes. They are confidential, they are general, they are formal. I have a reason to arrest him because I believe that he availed wrongful ITC. This is general, right? I mean, how would I know what ITC is wrong, which year, what are you talking about? But grounds of arrest must be specific, okay? Because that person is going to use those grounds of arrest in the court of law for his defense. So, The grounds of arrest must include specific personal facts and the reasons justifying the arrest. So why do I believe that he took a wrong ITC? What is the reason? I need to give it to in writing that in 2024, there was an invoice of this much amount, you availed wrong ITC, the supplier does not exist, there is a fake invoice case. That I have to tell him so that he can defend himself. So yeah, this instruction is a very recent one. That grounds of arrest must be explained to the arrested person and it should also be furnished in writing as an annexure to the arrest memo. What are the types of bail? I don't want to spend too much time, but there is anticipatory bail, which is commonly also called AB, which is sought before the arrest. If I know I am going to be arrested, I can go and take court's order on anticipatory bail. Why am I going to know that I am being arrested? Any idea? Like, how will I come to know that I may be arrested? We spoke about it like a few minutes ago. No, but somebody who is actually doing a scam, at any point he can always take the anticipatory bail. But how would he come to know that they are going to arrest me in the next 24 hours or in the next 1 week? You can't have an anticipatory bail like a running bail, right? You need to have a specific bail for a specific timeline. Sorry? I can't hear you.
Arrest memo.
Arrest memo, but that is, I think it is later. No, if arrest memo comes and if you won't have AB, then you can't be excused. So if, like I said, if the supplier is already arrested and if I know that he is my supplier, or if the recipient is already arrested and I know I am his supplier, then there are chances that my arrest is going to happen. I can apply for anticipatory bail, take it. There is regular bail, which is granted after arrest, allowing release from custody. There is default bail. So if charge sheet is not filed within 60 days by the officer, it's default bail. So on the 61st day, you can walk free. And there is an interim bail. Now some case studies on arrests. Yeah, when should an application for anticipatory bail be filed and by whom? Like I think we already discussed, right? We are aware that at the time when a taxpayer apprehends the possibility of arrest for alleged offence, in case an offence is committed by a legal entity, then the person in charge is deemed guilty. So he should apply for AB. So Chudamani Parameshwaran Iyer 2023, this was also in Supreme Court, that if a person is summoned under Section 69 for the purpose of recording of statement, then Section 430 of CPC cannot be invoked, which means that in such circumstances the person summoned cannot invoke this and he cannot take anticipatory bail. Like if you've already kind of been summoned and under Section 69 you know that there is going to be an arrest, then you cannot apply for anticipatory bail. It has to happen before that. Yeah. What considerations do High Courts take while granting anticipatory bail? So the Supreme Court, in the case of Sapna Jain, had observed that the High Courts can take reliance of the previous Supreme Court's ruling, and they should ensure that all the rulings which the Supreme Court have granted should be abided to. That's about it, because there are plenty of rulings on anticipatory bails. Yeah, is custodial interrogation necessary for all accused? Can anticipatory bail be denied on that basis? The answer is no. Custodial interrogation is not always necessary, and they are also held in 2022 in the NIKITA case that just you can't arrest somebody because somebody is being charged of a GST fraud of 500 crores. So the amount of fraud will not kind of determine whether you are supposed to get paid or not, or custodial interrogation should be done or not. This we discussed. Yeah, so this is very interesting. Does prolonged pre-trial custody after affect decision on bail? What rationales do courts use? So what had happened in this case that this taxpayer, he was already in custody for 25 months, right? We've read that maximum custody is 5 years. Almost half the custody is done. So in this case, the Supreme Court had held that you've already made him serve half the custody. Your proceedings are not yet over. So please release him. And what's the point? It is prolonged custody without any result. Yeah, fine. Bail in serious offences. Yeah, so if it is a bail of serious offences, what happens is Supreme Court puts some condition that what we see, for celebrities, right? That you surrender your passport, you promise, you give a bond that you will not travel outside India. All of these conditions they will put, and they will give you a bail. They will ask you to put a strong, like a big amount of security, like a 1 crore or 2 crore rupee, something like that. So section 69 and 132 was also subjected to constitutionality check before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has upheld the constitutional validity of 69 and 132. 69 meaning arrest and 132 meaning the grounds which we saw, the 4 grounds on which arrest can be done. Both of them are constitutionally valid. Yeah, this is a very landmark case, again, Radhika Agarwal. It was also recently, in April 25 it came. It also kind of lays down your checks and balances of when arrests can be done, how arrests should be done, which arrests are valid, which arrests are invalid. Circular trading arrests are allowed. Yes, they are very much allowed. That is, if it is 5 crore and up, then it is a non-bailable offence, and below 5 crore, it is a bailable offence. Now, we're left with 2 very small sections, and I think we'll be done in the next 10 minutes. Then we can have a small round of Q&A. So access to business premises is covered by section 71. So any officer not below the rank of joint commissioner, again joint commissioner, we saw in section 67, he has a right to access any place of business. To do what? To check the books of accounts, the documents, the computer program, computer software. If it is installed, even then, if it is deleted, even then he can check. What purpose will it serve? It can be used for audit, verification, scrutiny, inspection, anything. And what is the responsibility of the person who is in charge of the premises? So the responsibility is that he should be making the following documents available within 15 working days, which are trial balance, audited financial statements, cost audit report, income tax audit report, other relevant documents. Section 72. So officers to assist proper officer. So if there is a search being conducted, if there is a arrest being conducted, then these officers have been directed to help the GST officers, which is police officers, railway officer, custom officer, and land revenue collection officer, including village officers. So they are going to, if it is in their domain, let's say nobody kind of does that, but if somebody is trying to escape through train, then the railway officers are going to help. But this is like some 1970s movie which will not happen. So yeah. So this is a investigation information. So this is something, I think we can skip this, but what I wanted to show you was this. This is a closure order. This is how the closure order of an investigation looks like. If you see the part in the red box, it says that in view of the such amount being retained, like as a consequence of the OIO, the respondents are also directed to refund to the petitioner appropriate amount after retaining 10%. So what had happened was they had deposited under protest. It was because they said it was under protest. When they went into appeal, 10% was retained as a pre-deposit and the remaining amount was refunded. And yeah, this is that refund order. Where the closure report is issued, it should be issued. It is also a part of the instruction which was given in 23-24 that the closure report consequent to appropriate payment of government dues should be issued. It should not be delayed and it should be self-explanatory. And this is how the closure report also looks, that the case is concluded. The above mentioned closure proceedings in respect to the issue mentioned above only and without prejudice to any other action. This is being issued by the DGGIFEC. So, I think these are the demand and recovery sections. 73, 74, I think we all are aware. But 74A was recently introduced in the last budget. The period from which 74A is going to kick off is FY 24-25. So any cases which are for FY 24-25 are going to be covered under 74A. Which are the scenarios covered? What they have done is basically they have just merged 73 and 74, made it one section, and they've said that any case will be covered, whether fraud, not fraud, everything will be covered under this. There is no threshold, but they said the 1,000 rupees below you don't have to issue a show cause notice. What is the time limit to issue? They've again done the average of 73 and 74 and come up with a timeline of 42 months, 3.5 years from the filing of annual return. And the order is 12 months from the date of SCM. So if you see, if you add up 42 and 12, it becomes 54 months, which essentially is a longer time than 73, mostly reaching up to 74. What is the penalty? It is, if it is not a fraud, then it is 10% of the demand or 10,000, whichever is higher. If it is a fraud, then 100% penalty has to be paid. This is fine. So there are some timelines, for 17, 18 to 22, 23 under 73 and 74. Whatever is red is already gone. So you cannot issue a show cause, you cannot receive a show cause notice or an order for the red ones. And the green ones are something which we should look out for, the next 4 upcoming deadlines. And yeah, it will go on till 2028, but just like a quick summary. I think with that we can call it a day. Thank you so much.
Just go on that slide.
Yeah, which one? This one? Thank you. Thank you everybody. Yeah, sure. Sorry. Any questions? Sorry, I have been asking you questions, so now you can take revenge. If they don't ask any question, that means the session was absolutely great. Feedback for me tonight. Any questions?
You told the reasons for survey will be given to the taxpayer.
In writing, they don't need to give.
They give, but for an internal thing, they have to record
Yes,
it.
yes.
Will that be dated, like dated and
Yes.
approved?
So for their internal file, they are going to date everything because let's say if the officer gets transferred, okay, the upcoming officer should know when did what happen, the chronology of events, all of that. Any other questions? Great, thank you so much. Thanks. And thank you for being a lovely audience, answering all my questions.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. I think so. Hope for all the members took a great advantage of this. Yeah. Manju, can you have? I request Mr. Manjunath to please present a memento to the speaker.